If youngsters these days don't have a youth place to go to, or there isn't one set up yet, where would they hang about?
A tunnel. It's just a dump. It's what it is. It's like a kind of a bridge onto the road where a group of young people stand there and just talk. But it's not even that. There's all the stuff that happens in the tunnel, and we don't see it. What actually happened here? We don't think of it. Just we more or less think this is where we'd sit. Nothing wrong with it.
It's a place to sit and drink and just get on with your friends. But when you look around it, like it's a shambles, like it's a mess and smelly urine and all. It's a bad place to sit
a
about
whole lot and taking drugs and all down it, like.
It doesn't stop you from going near it because like it's the only place you can go like around the town. When you're bored, you just sit there. Police come, you've a few getaway places like places to run away and all and hide like. So it's dead on place for us to go to. Like.
Well, majority of the time people would be at the tunnel drinking, smoking, even taking drugs and stuff like that there, wrecking the place, breaking glass bottles, leaving things behind that they've used for taking drugs in and stuff like that there.
Just be really used for as well as a hangout kind of thing where young people's got nowhere to go and they just use this place kind of like a refuge from the cops and everything to hide. Where they can drink and take drugs, nobody knows them.
If you go somewhere else, you're going to be told off to leave it, to go away from it if you're hanging about it, or you just can't go there at all.
Or you'll probably get blamed for something that's done, especially when you're running about or hanging around the tunnel. Most of the times you'll get blamed for breaking windows or just vandalising the area around it. So. There's nowhere else to go, so that's why we just go here, like.
Definitely not. The tunnel isn't a good place to hang out. The glass bottles broke everywhere. Like, you've nothing to do here but drink or smoke or something, like. So it definitely isn't a place to hang out, like.
I don't like being here because the tunnel has a bad name, and most time people that run about the tunnel get a bad name from the tunnel.
In the communities, not many people get together to try and talk about things like this. To try and get things for us, like even ourselves, like well, not many of us will come together to talk about getting anything other than the tunnel for us to hang out.
Nowadays, everybody just keeps to themselves and don't organise anything anymore, and the younger groups, they just stick to their own people. I think it'd be far handier to get if all the young people came together because the older people say, "How long? These ones aren't mucking about, they're serious." And what they want to get, and it'd be far handier and easier to be listened to if everybody comes together and starts talking.
Young people in our area today are twice as likely to be unemployed, have poorer health and less qualifications than other parts of the north. Conflict isn't a thing of the past, or film attempts to find out why.
This area would be an area of high deprivation. We have a lot of young people. We're under the neighbourhood renewal scheme at the moment. There would be a high level of antisocial behaviour, and we would have a lot of alcohol problems with young people and with adults.
You're in the middle of probably the worst recession. I'm not just talking nice government terms. We've known it here, especially in Armagh. Armagh has always been a very high unemployment area. If you want work, you have to leave Armagh.
Today we have young people who are leaving school and have no jobs. There's nothing there. The whole industry, I mean, economics has changed everything, and economics still changes everything.
It's always been that way. There are only so many building jobs, and there are only so many brickies and plumbers and so forth are needed. There's no construction work going on, there's no factories. Schools already have all their teachers. Doctors are already in place. The town's coming down with solicitors. The obvious thing about it is that unemployment now is just as bad, in fact worse, than it was in the 60s when Armagh was built.
I mean, there is a Kentucky Fried Chicken place open here in Armagh, and it's the only building is still, and there's 300 applications for a job. Now I think that epitomises things in many, many ways. The days when men left their homes with a lunchbox under the arm to head down to the factories or work, long gone.
If you take the different sectors that we would have right across the province, and we'll use maybe Craigavon, which is a neighbouring council, as a sort of a model to work against, they would have a high manufacturing, high industrial base, which we don't have. And what we would actually have is more service, public administration and retail base. And even from the retail perspective, you would have a lot of family-owned small businesses in the retail sector. You don't have a lot of the big multinational companies such as Next, Tesco's, etc. here. So from that perspective, there is less opportunity.
They've tried to turn it into a tourist town, and this has taken away opportunities for people to get jobs, especially young people. They haven't got a hope. They don't see a future for themselves in the town as it was in bygone years.
Armagh was never allowed to have big factories. This was part of what was designated the Armagh Area Plan, which was drew up in the mid-60s. And it created a green belt around Armagh that nothing could be built on, houses included. And still there to this day. And it also decreed that no factories over a specified size were allowed to be built in Armagh. That way they hoped to keep Armagh quite a quiet little sleepy town.
Adults don't talk much about the past. We wanted to know how things were before to better understand today. So we interviewed local residents about our history, the economic situation and the conflict.
Most people came from smaller communities around Armagh. Armagh really had no housing estates prior to the 60s, and people lived in smaller communities, streets. The town itself was much, much smaller. Town boundaries ended roughly where the tunnel is now. There was no Armagh, there was no Mulacreevy, Callanbridge, Legger Hill. The other end of the town, there was no Drumbreda, St Bridget's Hill, Abbey Park, Longstone, anything like that. Town boundary ended where the Harp Social Club is now. Most of the industry was around mills, and you had the houses down there. There was a mill, linen mill down there. You had another linen mill just over the hill at Umgola. There was no Umgola or Tullymore Downs or anything like that then. There was what they called the slipper factory, and it manufactured slippers and light shoes. Then it closed, and a dog food manufacturer took it over, Jesse Dog Foods. And then they moved out and they opened a small unit of their own, a new factory, employ maybe 50, 60 people. Discrimination was daily, ongoing. Very much, in those days we were very much a colony mentality. In the 60s is a peculiar time because worldwide in the 60s people began to realise that there was more to life than serving people who thought they were above them, or serving the big factory owner or the landowner. That there was personal freedom and there was also community and national freedom. Discrimination here took the form of not enough jobs for Catholic people, so they had to emigrate, keep the Catholic population smaller in areas where they outnumbered the Protestant population. Discrimination also meant that the ordinary Catholic did not have a vote at all. You had to be a householder to have a vote. So that in your house, your father and mother in the house might have had a vote, and there might have been 8 children there all over the age of 21, and not one of them would have had a vote because they weren't householders. Business votes, if you had a business, you had an extra vote. And depending on the size of your business, most businesses in those days were Protestant. So some businessmen had maybe 20 votes. So discrimination worked that way. You were always going to be outvoted. Lack of amenities and unemployment were the two big problems. problems in Armagh. Lack of amenities, generally speaking. You're talking about houses that had maybe one room upstairs, one room downstairs. Those that were lucky might have had a room downstairs and a little, what you would call now a cupboard, which they call the kitchen, scullery. There was no running water. Quite a few of the houses had no electricity. They still operated on gas. They had no bathroom, no toilet.
But going back to 1969 was when things really started here in Armagh for my generation. At that time I was about 14, 15 years of age, and I remember distinctly the civil rights marches in Armagh, and people were only campaigning at this time for civil rights, basically one man, one vote, which was for both Protestant, Catholic and the Centre. You know, it was, when we say one man vote, was for parliamentary reform. However, what ensued was a very high level of violence.
There is still continued violence, but in our future we also face a lack of jobs, housing shortages and fewer opportunities in education. It's clear that something needs to be done. We hope that our film can be a starting point.
Well, young people maybe need to join more groups, join youth councils, lobby the council, make sure they're in anything that's they're available to them and get their voice heard.
One of the biggest things has been access to services and ensuring that we actually get people, you know, to engage with the services. The knowledge base as well of ensuring that everybody knows what's available to them, how to get it, and how to make the most of it is one of the key issues as well. From my perspective, every community and every person in that area should have the same opportunities that everybody else has, and that's what we want to ensure will happen.
We'd work very closely and have a lot of partnerships with the youth service. We would work with the fire service, council groups, anybody that's out there that's of benefit to young people, we would partner with them. We try to build their confidence and self-esteem, channel them to places that are of use to them. So we cover quite a large range, but it's mostly to build capacity in young people.
Roma, do you think the projects and the resources given to them are enough to tackle the problems?
No, I don't think it's enough to tackle the problems. I think we need to be working closely in partnership with people who have money to try and get more resources on the ground and to try and have more facilities for young people.
Godfrey, what is the average wage of somebody doing a job like yours, and what is the average wage in like Armagh?
My average wage would probably be a lot higher, and there's no point in me saying that it isn't. But again, this does come down to what we need to achieve and what we need to develop within the neighbourhood renewal area. The question about neighbourhood renewal area is where we want to be in 5 years' time. We would want the average wage to be higher. We would want the opportunities to be there. And the only way that we're going to do that is through developing the necessary programs within education, within community development, and within the social economy aspect as well.
In the area, violence is rising as people are getting frustrated with the police constantly raiding houses and searching random people. Because there's Catholic and Protestant living in the area close by and not getting on very well. And then there's drugs and alcohol that conflict in with it.
The cops pulling up and stopping us, accusing us for having drugs on us and all, searching us and intimidating us by sitting and watching us.
All young ones are getting the same off the police, just intimidation and disruption by them from constantly searching us and all. A lot of them have no qualifications and haven't really skills to go out and get any job they want, like, so they're struggling with that there. And
there's certainly not the same opportunities in terms of work, economics and so on, and they're more vulnerable young people. So what we have is young people coming into a scene where it's not just about antisocial behaviour, which seems to be a big factor with it, but there seems to be a loose end, they seem to be lost. I think myself, one of the avenues, of course, is through a greater education. And I'm not talking about just academic education, I'm talking about social education and political education as well. It's a whole combination of everything.
How do you think you could improve life for young people of your area?
Well, I'm 17, they're not going to listen to me, but I don't have the skills or knowledge to really know what the youth would want. But I'd say if we all work together and if we all agreed on one thing, we'll be able to get stuff and make Armagh a better place for the youth.
Should go, then come up the ladder in a bubble. Here's where should go, tell kids something.